Welcome back to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. In our last episode, Nadia walked away, not from love, but from pain dressed as loyalty. When Nadia left, she didn't feel brave. She felt hollow, confused, terrified. But somewhere beneath all that trembling was relief. The kind that comes after you finally exhale the breath you didn't know you've been holding for years. Her shoes slapped softly against the sandy street as she walked towards the motor park. The sun was harsh, sharp rays bouncing off the tin roofs, making her eyes stink. She clutched her small black handbag tight, the one Farouk bought her on their second anniversary. Inside it, a few clothes, her teaching certificate, and the little savings she had managed to hide away. That was all she had. She stood by the row of buses, heart thudding, half hoping, half begging that she'd hear his voice behind her. That any minute now, Farouk would come running, breathless, ashamed, calling her name the way he used to. Nadia, please don't go. But the park was full of strangers, men shouting destinations, women balancing trays of snacks, children weaving through the crowd with bottles of water. Not one familiar face, not one voice calling her back. She hesitated for a long time, long enough for two buses to fill and leave, long enough for hope to twist into something painful. She checked her phone again. No call, no message. Not from Farouk, not from her mother, not from his mother, not even a single missed call pretending to care. Her chest tightened. So that was it. All those years, 3 years of prayer, of waiting, of begging for a miracle. And this is how it ended. Silence. The driver leaned out of from the bus window. Madam, you dey go Kaduna or not? Nadia blinked back the tears and nodded. Yes, Kaduna. It was 2 p.m. The road to Minna wouldn't be safe at night, and she didn't have the strength for another argument with herself. She had spent the night at her sister Rahila's house, then continued home in the morning. Home. The word felt strange on her tongue. As she waited for the car to get full, she pulled out her phone and dialed the school. The familiar voice of the headmistress came through, warm and kind. Nadia, my dear, are you all right? I I have to travel, ma. Family emergency, Nadia said softly. Her voice trembled, but she forced a smile into it. The woman didn't ask too many questions. She never did. She had always been fond of Nadia, always told her, you have a gentle spirit, my dear. Don't let the world harden it. Take care of yourself, the headmistress said. We'll manage things till you're back. Thank you, ma, Nadia whispered. She ended the call and stared out the dusty window, watching the vendors move between buses. Her heart still clung to one stubborn hope that any second she'd see Farouk's tall frame in the crowd, running towards her, his face full of regret. That he would say, I'm sorry, I'll do the test. Let's start again. But the minutes stretched. The driver started the engine. And as the car pulled out of the park, something inside her broke and healed all at once. Because that was when she finally knew no one was coming. She sat quietly in the bus, staring at the blurred shapes outside the window. Her reflection looked strange, like a woman she used to know, but couldn't quite remember. Her thoughts kept circling, the same question over and over. What now? She wasn't sure if she was brave or foolish. Every bump in the road made her doubt herself a little more. Maybe she should have stayed. Maybe she should have tried harder. Maybe she stopped herself. No, she has tried enough. But still, she felt lost. Even freedom felt heavy when you didn't know where to go next. She hadn't even told Rahila she was coming. Ah, Rahila, her older sister, stern, practical, with a voice that could slice through excuses. Rahila didn't like surprises, especially emotional ones. Nadia sighed, unlocked her phone, and pressed call. Hello? Came the familiar voice, curt, slightly breathless. Rahila, is me. A pause. Nadia, is everything okay? Nadia hesitated, her throat tightened. Uh, I'm on my way to Kaduna. To Kaduna? At this time? Why? Something came up, Nadia said quickly. I'll explain when I see you. There was a silence on the other end, long enough for Nadia to picture her sister's frown. You should have told me earlier, Rahila finally said. Where are you now? I just left Katsina. I'll be there before evening. Another pause. Hmm? Fine. Just come. I'll be at home. Her tone softened slightly. Are you all right? Nadia swallowed. I'm fine. A lie wrapped in habit. Okay, be safe, Rahila said, and the line went dead. Nadia said at the phone, the echo in her chest spreading wider. Even her sister's voice carried that distance, that guardedness she had grown used to. She leaned her head against the window as the bus sped along the highway. Fields of dusty trees flashed by, and with them memories she hadn't visited in years. She never really knew her mother. She died when Nadia was barely 3, too young to remember the sound of her laughter, too young to keep her scent. Her father had 2 other wives, and though they didn't treat her cruelly, they never gave her the kind of love that wraps around a child like sunlight. They clothed her, fed her, sent her to school, but affection, tenderness, a mother's touch, those were luxuries that never reached her. As a child, she used to tell herself, one day I will have 8 children, 8 souls, who will fill the house with laughter and chaos, who will love her without conditions. Her own little world, the family she never truly had. But that dream had faded long ago. In her marriage to Farouk, she had never felt that kind of love. He was kind at first, yes, but it was the love of convenience, one that turned cold when her womb stayed silent. She remembered the first time he had made a sly remark. They were at a cousin's wedding and someone asked when it would be their turn for a naming ceremony. Farouk had laughed lightly and said, maybe she's still waiting for divine Wi-Fi connection. The people around them laughed. Nadia smiled weakly, but inside something cracked. Another time when she forgot to add salt to his food, he muttered under his breath, you can't even season food. How will you raise a child? She pretended not to hear, but she did. Every word. Now, on this long road, those memories returned like thorns pressing against her heart. Tears rolled down her cheeks, tears she didn't bother to hide. A woman sitting beside her noticed and leaned closer. My sister, sorry, are you all right? Nadia forced a smile. My mother died, she whispered. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Not a lie, but not the whole truth either. Oh, sorry, my dear, another woman across the aisle said softly. May her soul rest in peace. The murmurs of sympathy filled the small bus, and for a moment Nadia felt the warmth of strangers, something she hadn't felt in years. She wiped her eyes and turned toward the window. The world outside blurred into gold and dust, and slowly, exhaustion wrapped around her like a blanket. Her tears dried against her skin as she drifted into uneasy sleep. She didn't know how long she slept, but she was jolted awake by the conductor's voice shouting, Kaduna, we're here. Everybody calm down. The voice had stopped, and just like that, Nadia was no longer Farouk's wife. She was just Nadia. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. The evening air in Kaduna was heavy with the smell of rain and roasted corn. By the time Nadia reached Rahila's house, her eyes were swollen from crying, her body aching from the long ride. Rahila opened the door, still in her work clothes, her expression caught somewhere between worry and irritation. Nadia could hear the children playing in the background, and when they saw her, they all rushed to her. Auntie Nadia, welcome. Their mother ignored them, then looked at Nadia. You look tired, she said simply. Come in. Nadia nodded, stepping inside the small sitting room. It was neat, predictable, just like her sister. She dropped her small bag near the couch and sat quietly while Rahila reheated rice and stew. They ate mostly in silence. The clatter of spoons filled the space between them. Later, when the dishes were cleared and the house grew still, Nadia began to speak, slowly at first. Then everything poured out. The insults, the tests, the mother-in-law's cruelty, the coldness of Farouk's eyes, the silence that had become her life. She spoke until her voice broke. Rahila didn't interrupt. She just sat there, one hand under her chin, listening. When Nadia finally finished, her sister exhaled deeply, eyes fixed on the floor. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Rahila said quietly, "This is serious, Nadia. You can't sweep it under the rug." She looked up, her voice firm but calm. "You have to tell Baba. Everything. Don't hide a single thing." Nadia nodded slowly, already dreading it. But Rahila's tone shifted, softer now, more measured. "However," she said, "you need to be careful." She leaned closer. "Baba, he will not take your side. I'm telling you this because I know him. He will only tell you to go back. He always does." Nadia frowned. Even after hearing all this, Rahila gave a bitter laugh. "Even then, I am telling you from experience. How many times have I taken my marital problems to him, but has he ever solved them? To him, a woman's honor is in staying, no matter how broken she is inside. I've stopped telling him my own problems. It's useless." Nadia felt something stir, surprise, and a kind of quiet admiration. She had always thought Rahila was cold, detached, but now seeing her speak with that steady, clear-eyed honesty, it felt like discovering another version of her sister, a version who understood pain, just didn't show it. Rahila placed a hand on Nadia's shoulder. "My advice," she said gently, "when you get home, tell Baba, let Baba do all the talking. Not listen, don't argue. Then when it's time to return, you decide for yourself, because, my dear, nobody will help you." Her words lingered in the air, sharp, real, and oddly comforting. For the first time that day, Nadia managed a small smile. It wasn't joy, it was recognition. The kind that comes when someone finally sees your wounds and doesn't look away. She whispered, "Thank you, Rahila." Rahila didn't respond, just gave a small nod and stood to switch off the light. "Get some rest," she said. "Tomorrow will be long." Nadia lay awake for a while, listening to the faint hum of the ceiling fan. Rahila's words echoed in her mind like a warning and a promise. And somewhere in the stillness, she thought, maybe, just maybe, she was stronger than she had been allowed to believe. The next morning, Nadia set out for Minna. The road stretched long and familiar, winding through dusty towns and quiet fields. When they arrived, Baba was waiting in his usual spot on the veranda, prayer beads in hand, radio humming low. Rahila had already spoken to him, told him about Nadia and her problems, but she said Nadia will explain everything when she came. When Nadia saw him, he didn't look angry, just tired. She greeted him. He nodded, his eyes heavy with disappointment. They sat in silence for a while before he finally spoke. "I heard what happened," he said, voice measured. "But my daughter, marriage is not something you walk in and out of like a market store." Nadia kept her eyes on the floor. "Baba, I tried," she whispered. "I truly did." He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Patience, Nadia. Every home has its test. Maybe this is yours." Then he picked up his phone and called Farouk. The line rang twice. Farouk answered. Baba spoke calmly, explaining that Nadia was home, that there has been misunderstanding, that maybe they should talk. Farouk's voice came through loud enough for Nadia to hear. "With all due respect, sir," he said, "she left without telling me. I didn't send her away. Maybe she was just tired and needed a break. But if she wants to come back, she knows the way." Baba's brows furrowed. "Farouk, this is not how we handle issues between husband and wife." But Farouk cut in, his tone cold. "Sir, I'm not coming for any discussion. I have nothing to add." The line went dead. For a long time, Baba stared at the phone in his hand as if waiting for it to ring again. It didn't. Days turned into weeks. Nadia stayed in Minna, helping around the house, teaching at a small Quranic class nearby. Farouk never called, not once. Even Baba tried again twice, but this time Farouk didn't pick up. A month passed. Baba's patience began to fray. He called Rahila. Your sister must go back, he said firmly. Maybe if you accompany her, things will calm down. Go and speak to Farouk's mother. Rahila argued at first, but Baba's voice carried finality. And so, 6 weeks after Nadia left Katsina, she found herself packing again, this time with Rahila by her side. The journey back was quiet. No words could soften what they both feared was waiting. Still, Nadia clung to a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, things could be fixed. When they reached the familiar compound, the gate creaked open with a sound that made her stomach twist. Inside, the house looked unchanged. Same curtains, but something felt off. They stepped into the sitting room and froze. Farouk's mother sat comfortably on the couch, a smug smile on her face. Beside her was a young girl, not more than 15, dressed in a bright orange hijab, eyes lowered shyly at first, then lifted boldly. Rahila frowned. Assalamu alaikum, she greeted. The older woman responded coolly. Wa alaikum assalam. You are welcome. Nadia's voice trembled. Inaini, mama. The mother-in-law did not look at her. She looked at the girl sitting next to her and smiled. Lafiya kalau. Nadia looked at the mother-in-law and asked, Mama, who is this? The woman smiled, slow and deliberate. This is Hadiza, she said, her tone sweet and sharp all at once. My son's new wife. They married 2 weeks ago. The room tilted. Nadia felt the blood drain from her face. Rahila gasped softly, then stiffened. Farouk's mother leaned back, her voice dripping with satisfaction. At least now my son has a young virgin who can give him children. Not these university women with all their degrees and big grammar. She gave a small mocking laugh. Who knows how well their womb still works after all those abortions they like to hide. The words hung in the air like poison. Nadia's heart pounded, her mouth went dry. Rahila's hand clenched around hers, tight, steady, the only thing keeping her from collapsing. For a moment, no one spoke. Even the young girl looked uneasy now, shifting in her seat. Then Rahila rose slowly, her voice calm but cold. May Allah judge between truth and lies, she said, her eyes fixed on the older woman. Let's go, Nadia. Nadia didn't move right away. Her eyes met her Hadiza's. A girl's innocence, her fears, her ignorance of the storm she has just stepped into. And something inside Nadia shifted, not anger, not even heartbreak, clarity. As they turned to leave, Farouk's mother called out, Tell your father not to bother calling again. We have moved on. Nadia paused at the door, her voice steady for the first time in months. She said, looked her mother-in-law dead in the eye and said, So I have I. She stepped into the sunlight, no longer the woman who came to beg for love, but the woman who finally saw her worth without it. This is Northern Tales, where silence breaks and truth finds its echo. Nadia's story doesn't end here, because sometimes the moment you are discarded is the moment you are reborn. Join us in part 3 when Nadia begins again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.